Theo Wease is getting his own documentary, and I got to talk with the executive producer of the film, and I'm gonna tell you what he told me about the real reason he decommitted only to recommit, and whether or not he's going to sign during the early signing period, and all that's coming up after the pump.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. This is your place for Oklahoma football news and analysis, so consider hitting the like and subscribe button. So if you follow recruiting at all, you know that Theo Wease is one of the top recruits in the country, the top wide receiver in the country, and fluctuates between being the #1 recruit in the entire nation and the #3 recruit in the entire nation, according to Rivals.com. You'd also know that he was one of the ringleaders in the Magnificent 7 commitments that I made a movie about because it was so awesome, skyrocketed Oklahoma to the top of the recruiting rankings, and has put Oklahoma in a position to have a top 5 recruiting class in 2019. Following Wease's commitment, Flow Sports editor Colby Paxton reached out to Theo to ask him if he would be interested in shooting a documentary about his rise through the recruiting ranks, how he goes about making his decisions, and crucially, what went into him committing to Oklahoma. If you'd like to listen to the full interview that I did with Colby, you can subscribe to the Woosah podcast on SoundCloud, Google Play, or Apple Podcast. Be sure to rate it, give it 5 stars, leave a like and review. Here's a link to where you can find it on SoundCloud. Now, what you need to know for some context is that Theo Wease is the star player on the Star High School football team in Texas. His Allen High School Eagles went 16-0 last season and won the Texas Class 6A1 title. Wease finished with 57 catches for 879 yards with 11 TDs. And he's one of the best I've ever seen at catching balls in traffic. At 6'3", 195 pounds and room to grow, he could be a star at Oklahoma. But there's not a lot that's known about Theo. He doesn't talk to a lot of folks, but he talks to the folks that he talks to, and Paxton was one of the people that got to spend an enormous amount of time with Theo and came away with revelations like this.
You know, really fascinating for us was just how ingrained he is in that community. And you see a lot of that in Allen. And I've had Kyler Murray has alluded to this before in conversation. Jonathan Williams has alluded to this before in conversation. But until you're there and you see it, you can't really understand the way that this community embraces the players and the players embrace the community. And Theo really is like a walking example of that. He's beloved wherever he goes.
So I asked Colby if he got to talk to Theo about his decision to commit to Oklahoma, decommit, and then recommit again, and what was the calculus that went into those decisions, and he had this to say.
Yeah, so I asked him about that specifically. I asked his mom and his dad about that too. To know Theo Jr., really you got to know Theo Sr., you got to know his mom. He comes from 2 really great parents. I mean, he's got an excellent home support system, as I mentioned. Watching the 3 of them interact, it's clear that, it's a phenomenal dynamic because he's got, his father who he loves and respects, and by all appearances, they have a phenomenal relationship. And then you got the mom who is, self-described Theo's best friend. And that's very evident when you watch the 2 of them interact. It's really cool to watch. But when Theo was looking for a school, long story short, he was just looking for a place that felt right, and that's not tangible. So it's tough to describe what is that singular thing, that moment when you were like, yeah, this is right. But it was a combination of things. Did he trust the coach? Did he believe in the system? Did he feel at home? And did it feel like family? Family was a word that all 3 of them kept coming back to. Did it feel like family? Did it feel like family? So Theo has been going to Norman on visits for quite a while, along with Theo Sr. And they're extremely familiar with the program. When OU started talking with Theo, Bob was there. It wasn't even, Lincoln wasn't even the head coach. So OU's been in the game with Theo for a long time. His commitment was an emotional one because he felt, this emotional tie to OU. It felt like home. It felt like family. But after he committed, it was almost like, it's a human reaction, right? Like you commit to something big, something long term, whether you're buying a car or you're committing on college or you're going to get married or whatever it is. You commit, and then immediately you have that moment of panic. commits to OU because he loved OU, but then immediately after that, looking around, he's like, dang, you know, it's early in the recruiting process. Maybe I should have let this thing play out. You know, Bob steps down, Lincoln steps up. Now it's not as familiar, whatever the case. So he decommits, and Theo Sr. made no, you know, there was no confusing his opinion of that. He was upset a little bit, not angry, just a little disappointed that Theo Jr. had decommitted because he, you know, his position is, you know, our word is bond. You represent me, you represent our family, and so to step away from that wasn't probably a good moment. Wasn't a highlight necessarily for them, but he backed his son. He understood the thought process. He understood that, you know, Theo just wanted to make sure. It wasn't ever about Theo not believing in Oklahoma. It was just about Theo wanting to make sure that he made the right decision, which, you know, any student athlete in that situation is entitled to.
Right, any parent.
If he had to do it, if he had to do over again, would he wait and just commit one time? Yeah, probably.
Right.
But, you know, so he steps away, he looks around, and nothing feels like home. Nothing feels like OU. So the decision to recommit was an easy one for him. They're 100% committed. You know, Theo's he's going to graduate early and enroll in January, and he'll be competing for playing time next fall.
So Theo Wease is locked into Oklahoma, one of the prized recruits of the class. His 2019 class is already becoming one of the best all time at OU, and I can't wait to see him play. Alright, that's it for me. Deuces.